Welcome everybody to another edition of the Eagles Nest podcast. I gave up on keeping count on them just because that was something else I didn't want to have to worry about anymore. So I don't even know what episode it is, but I know we have an amazing guest here for you tonight, Sev Talk. She's a MUFON investigator, lifelong experiencer. She's also heading up the MUFON Symposium coming up next month in July. We're gonna be talking about that tonight for sure. And yeah, we're gonna bring her on in just a moment. Just let's see, I had some amazing guests on. We had Deb on last. Then we had our roundtable, host to host roundtable. And yeah, just if this is your first time listening, go check out our past episodes. We have Grant Cameron, Laura Eisenhower, Billy Carson, Kevin Day from the Nimitz incident. Yeah, tons of other people. If I miss any names, it's not. I'm doing it by accident. So yeah, but go check them out. I got tons of great content. In the past and tons of great content coming up, man. I have some amazing guests coming up too as well. I got John Yoyce coming up next on Tuesday. Tomorrow I'm going to be on Jess Rogi's show. She was on the host roundtable as well, and she's a past guest. Also, Geraldine is a past guest. Individual shows interviewing them, but I'm going to be back on Jess's show tomorrow. That's going to be at midnight my time. It's going to be a couple cups of coffee worth of talking, for sure. I'm definitely used to sleeping around that time of the night. But I will be hanging out with Jess tomorrow for a couple hours, starting at midnight tomorrow night. Jess Rogi's show. And Tuesday we got John Yoyce coming up. He is the director producer of the show that Deb was on, that we just had on. It is on Amazon. It's Alien Abduction Answers, and it's streaming right now on Amazon Prime. You can go check it out. It's just a few bucks to rent it, to watch it. It's definitely worth the time to watch it. It touches on some aspects that are really interesting. It's definitely touches on some of the next steps in it. Whitley Strieber's part of that movie, as long as along with some other amazing people. So John Yoyce, the director producer, is going to be here with us on Tuesday talking about that show. That's looking forward to that one. And yeah, and then we got the Stardust Fest coming up July 10th. So I'll be up in Golden, Colorado, speaking at 11 a.m. You can get tickets at the door to the talk. It's going to be about the evolution of humanity. And yeah, I'm going to be signing books, and we're going to have a booth there with merchandise from Sacred Journeys Within, and also some of my daughter's paintings. That are features on our website. They're going to be there. We're going to be there in person. I know I will, and my wife. Not sure about my daughter Alyssa. If she's going to be there or not. But anyways, uh, yeah, July 10th. If you got books, bring them out or sign them, and we're have some books out there for sale at the booth. So come out and hang out, and that's a 1-day event, Stardust Fest, and we're gonna have links up on our website, and you can also find them over on our Facebook over at Sacred Dreams Within, and over on my Facebook page. You can find links to Stardust Fest. So to find out more about that, and then November 18th, we're going to be in Florida at Zen Awakening Festival. We're going to be there for 3 days. So come hang out with us there. I love doing a festival once or twice a year, just throwing in a little time for ourselves. So yeah, go check us out. And yeah, if you don't know about my books, I'm perfect and so are you. And Find Your Inner Guru. Go and check them out over at Amazon. And we have a few copies of the second book left that are in stock right now. We're out of stock of the first book on our website, but you can order them from there, and I send them to you with the signed autographed copies. So, and it's the same price if you order them from a website or Amazon. But yeah. Um, Oh, my son is teething still, so if you hear him piping in, He's Hawk's just trying to join in the conversation, so he's got a tooth coming in right here in the bottom, so it's about to pop. So if you hear him screaming, it's my wife has got it. Don't worry, I'm not ignoring him. There is someone taking care of him, but he just sometimes he likes to join in the podcast. So that's just a disclaimer we like to put out there. And let's see. Without further ado, I don't have anything else to put out, but without further ado, I'm gonna bring in Sev Talk. She is. I bring her in, and then I go through her bio a little bit. Hi, Sev. How you doing? Sev
Hi.
is a MUFON investigator, and how long you been doing that, Sev?
2 years.
2 years. And yeah, you're heading up the MUFON Symposium that's coming up. That's that must be a huge chore. And
Yes.
yeah, but thanks for you being here. If you guys want to check out more about her, you can find out all her credentials that always down in the description box and below the video. And yeah, just I don't like to waste time with too much of that. People can check it all out, but we like to get in and just find out, about the person. So, what's your daily life like? Like, where are you based out of now, and what's your daily life like?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on, for being your guest. Hello to everyone who's listening and watching. I'm very happy to be here. I live on the inner banks of North Carolina. I came here about 4 years ago, and something incredible happened to me that changed my life. I had contact with Grays, and that's what prompted me to finally admit my lifelong experiences. And besides working with MUFON, and I have a spiritual counseling practice with clients all over the world. I conduct soul purpose sessions and soul support and mentoring sessions. And for the past month, I've been super busy putting together the introductions for the MUFON Symposium because I'm the Master of Ceremonies, and just doing a lot of interviews. I've been trying to start my second book. That's easier said than done right now. I'm hoping when I come back, maybe I can start in August.
Wow, busy, huh?
Yeah.
Crazy. So, what was your first experience like? Like was it childhood? Was it
Yes.
so? It's, so you've been literally lifelong experience.
Yes.
So
My
what was that first introduction like? How did it start?
my first conscious memory was from the age 10, from 10 to 12. This is when I was living in the DC suburbs. I grew up in the Washington, DC suburbs. I was born in Istanbul, and my parents and I emigrated to Montreal, Canada, and then we settled into the DC suburbs. So I started first grade not knowing English. And I had so many experiences I lost count with this particular being that would come and visit me in a spaceship. I would find myself outside at night waiting for it. It was this big spaceship, and it would come from a different direction each time and just hover over my head so I could clearly see the bottom of it. And it was so big that it just blocked out the sky. And I was so happy. I was so happy every time I saw it. Because I felt like I was getting reunited with a brother. And it would land, and stairs would come down, the door would open, and this being would come out. He looked very human. The main difference being the ears were just slightly almond shaped. I'm not talking like Spock, and I was never into Star Trek as a kid. Now I am, but I wasn't as a kid. And he was wearing all black top and black pants. I don't remember if they were connected or not, and black hair. And he would just check up on me, make sure I'm okay. And that went on for a couple of years. And after each visit, I would just find myself, ding, back in my bedroom, having to get ready for fifth grade. And I just never said anything to anybody. I could have told my parents because my parents were very open and believers, but I didn't. I kept it as a secret for decades. And then the very last visit was different because this time I was with a group of children and I had never been with other children before. And we were lined up and I didn't look directly in their faces. I'm assuming we're about the same age. And we just watched the spaceship fly away. And we were really sad. I was very sad because I knew I wasn't going to see him. And I also knew that I had to get to work. But at that age, I didn't know what that meant. I had no idea what do your work meant. Now I'm starting to discover what that is decades later. And then from there, I had mostly paranormal, lots of paranormal experiences. There were some ET experiences, but I was so afraid of anything that looked like a gray. If I saw a picture of a gray, the Whitley Strieber book just freaked me out. I couldn't look at it. Anything alien related, I could not tolerate. I just wanted to run into the other room. I didn't read books about it. I didn't watch TV about it or movies or anything. I was scared. And then after my second divorce, this was around 2010, the ET stuff started up very heavily, really heavy. And I explain all this in my book, You Have the Right to Talk to Aliens. And then I ended up moving here to North Carolina. And my first night here, I made contact with a gray that burned a red X into my back. I have pictures of the X on my Facebook and on my Instagram and in my book. And well, maybe I can show you right here. Oh, here it is. There it is. The X, yeah. So that was the first one. And they're equidistant. I've had people measure them and they're completely equidistant. That way. And when I would run my finger over it, I couldn't feel it. And it was on my tush. It was on the left cheek of my tush. And then 9 days later, another one. This time with a very conscious memory, I came to in my bedroom and this memory was just downloaded where I was on this hospital type bed. I was on my side and I couldn't move. I felt paralyzed and I sensed that there was something behind me and I could move my neck and my head. So I moved it and right here was a gray standing just inches from me doing something to my back. And we locked eyes and I describe it as looking into two pools of black oil. And there was no telepathic communication. I've had contact with the Greys before, and there was always telepathic communication, but this time there was nothing. And that freaked me out even more because it was so neutral. And we're not used to neutral. Neutral kind of freaks us out. Mm. And so I turned my head back around and ding, I found myself back in my bedroom and I got out of bed and I went downstairs. And at the time I was with a gentleman named Patrick. I waited for him to come. And I was really afraid because if I had another X on me again, I didn't think I was going to be able to take it. I thought I would lose it. So he came downstairs and I told him my memory. And also there was something very unusual in this memory. I was on the moon. When I was on that table, I was on the moon. That was a knowing that I had. So I asked him to check my tush, and there was another X, exactly like the first one, on my right tush, matching. And I have a picture of that in my book. And that threw me into like an existential crisis. I didn't know who I was anymore. I didn't know what humans were anymore. Nothing that I thought was as it is was. I panicked and I was very afraid because back then I thought the Greys were evil. I've completely changed my mind, but that back then I thought they were victimizing me. And that's because I thought everybody was victimizing me back then. I was like the perfect victim. And I've gotten rid of that victim vibe. So now I can see my experiences through a different lens. Yeah.
Yes.
Different perspective. And the Greys were helping me. They weren't hurting me.
Mm.
And
I
so that is what prompted me to come out.
that's uh that's one. I mean, I love the story. It's amazing. Uh, what have what was the message? Have you ever figured out the particular message of the points? Was it just to leave you with a connection to see, or like what did it boil down to, or are you still unpacking that?
Well, I really don't know why an X, although an X is quite a mystical symbol,
Yeah,
powerful symbol.
yeah.
Why on my tush? Uh, well, we know we have our Kundalini energy that sits down in that chakra. And when that Kundalini is activated, a byproduct of that activation is having to know the truth about everything, including yourself. So I stepped onto this path of authenticity because of it. And also, I had been ignoring all the signs, all the marks on my body, all the weird lights in the house, everything. I'd been ignoring all of them. And I like to say the Greys got together and they said, "What the hell can we do to get her attention?" And one says, "Let's just put a red X on her ass." And they're like, and that's what happens. I'm like,
uh,
yeah.
that's awesome. So we did have a question. I think you just answered it. The Grays. Chuck Chuck asked, does she know the race of the ETs? So
Oh, well, gray, what we call the grays. And I've
Grays.
seen them many times. I had another experience where I was shown a baby in a tube. And behind me was tall, medium, and short. And that was before I knew they even came in different sizes.
Uh huh. Amazing. Yeah. Thanks for the question, Chuck.
Yes.
Appreciate you. Yeah. So how? So that was really what pushed you over the edge
Yes.
of knowing like this is your path, like this is not just
I
a
didn't
one
know
time.
it was my path. I'm sorry to cut you off. I didn't know it was my path then. I just needed answers because I was
Uh huh.
freaking out.
Right.
And so for the first time in my life, I admitted to myself I needed help. And I was just decided just to let it organically happen.
Uh
And
huh.
then one day, one of my best friends who lives on the island of Maui said to me, "You know, Sev, I think you would really like the movie by Dr. Stephen Greer, uh, Unacknowledged." So I watched it and that like lit a fire in me. And after it was over, I went to my computer. I'm like, okay, I'm sending the picture of this X to somebody, but I don't know to whom. And I heard in my head, MUFON. So I Googled MUFON. I didn't know about it. And I saw a picture of Kathleen Marden. And I said to myself, she's the one, she's going to help me. So I contacted her and she responded right away. And we Skyped for an hour and a half. She was so generous with her time. And that was one of the most important phone calls in my life. And she validated everything. And I said to her, what am I supposed to do with all the information that I've been given? I've been given information about the hybridization program and the possible fate of the Earth. And because in my mind's eye, I see myself standing on stage. And she said, Sev, I can't tell you what you're supposed to do. It's that you have to figure that out. So she's kindly endorsed my book, and we've since then become friends, and she's my mentor. And she will be speaking at the MUFON conference. And after that talk, I still didn't know what I was going to do. I tend to just let things just organically evolve. And I tell myself, if I'm supposed to do something with this, it'll show up. And just a couple months later, I woke up one morning and I declared, I'm writing a book and I'm coming out. And that was in the latter part of 2018. And then right away, I was asked to be a speaker at AlienCon in Baltimore, which was very symbolic for me because I lived in Baltimore for 25 years and a lot of my experiences happened in Baltimore. And that's when I met experiencers who told me that they had a story to tell me and they'd never told anyone else before. And that's like music to my ears. And it was then that I realized, oh, this is what I want to do. I want to help experiencers. I don't want them to be afraid or to hide. Not that they have to come out in public, but it's important you come out to yourself, because until you do that, you're not authentic. You're not living authentically.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I help experiences around the world through my website, planetsev.com, and also through MUFON.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah, that's so that's when you started with MUFON. And so when did you take on the leadership role, or was it just something that's just started like organically, like?
Yes. So I was thinking about becoming a field investigator, but I talked myself out of it because I thought I would have to go to people's homes and things. And then I was talking with Terry Ling, who's on the board. And after talking to her, I decided I do want to be a field investigator for North Carolina. We don't have to go to people's homes. It's the internet, Zoom, everything. We don't have to do that
Mhm.
unless there's actual physical evidence. And so I studied and I took the test and I became a field investigator for North Carolina. And then about a year later, the Experiencer Resource Team contacted me asking me if I'd like to become a member. And I did, and I applied and was interviewed and accepted. And then about 6 months ago or so, they asked me to join the executive committee, which I'm very honored. And so I'm on the executive committee, and the Experiencer Resource Team is different than the field investigative work. The Experience Resource Team helps people who've made direct contact with non-human intelligence or otherworldly beings. There's about 50 of us around the world that do this. Field investigative work is mostly with someone who sees a craft or someone who sees lights and things like that. We investigate that, but the ERT deals with people who've made direct contact.
I gotcha. Yeah, I was had some cases like when I first started coming out, like MUFON was even before my books. I come out, and Jeremy Ray was one of the investigators that was investigating some of the stuff that I saw, and got him going. So yeah, kind of familiar with all that. This shirt comes from is a just how synchronicities work. One, I always like to put out. I always ask for a synchronicity with every guest at the beginning to know if it's got the right guest for the night, or whatever, or how the night's gonna go. And we're in the middle of selling our home here and moving to North Carolina. We're going to be that's a place where we're looking to move to. So the connection in North Carolina is a synchronicity, the big one that popped out right away. But
Are you
this
going
is
to Asheville?
probably around Asheville area. Yeah, we want to be in the mountains still, but we're here in the high desert in southern Colorado and the San Luis Valley, south of Crestone. And um, I guess the reason we were supposed to be here in this valley for a few years was to see all the activity. Like this is a really hot area for activity that just it stay pretty much. If you go out and spend 20 minutes looking at the sky at night out here, you're going to see something. Like so it's kind of that's kind of hard to think about leaving, but I'm ready to get up in the trees and have a different climate.
I go to Asheville every year. There's a vortex there, and I'm like on the same ley line as Asheville. And because North Carolina, a lot of times it's in the top 10 of the most UFO reports uh, monthly or even yearly. There's a lot going on in North Carolina. Bigfoot also lives in my neighborhood, and I've seen Bigfoot here too. And there's also Bigfoot in Asheville. Yeah. So I'm coming to North Carolina, and I look forward to meeting you in person.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so this MUFON Symposium, I hear Dave Scott's going to be there.
Yes.
He's coming down, crossing the border again for the second time this year. He's a good friend of mine. I've been on his show a few times.
Yeah,
He's
me
awesome.
too. Yeah, I like him. Yes.
Yeah.
So I will, if you don't mind, just tell you who the speakers are. Our keynote speaker is Cheryl Jones, from coast to coast, and she's also a professional broadcast journalist. And we have Kathleen Marden, Don Schmidt, Peter Robbins, Dave Scott, Peter Davenport, Tom Reed, Ron James, who's going to show us his new movie, Accidental Truth, Paul and Joel Hynek, Michael Schratt, Mark D'Antonio, Craig Cambobasso, and Bob Spearing. We're also going to have experiencer groups led by Earl Grey. And we're also going to have a couple of panels. I'm moderating a panel. The panel I'm moderating is called How Hollywood Covered Experiencers and Contactees. And we have another panel called From Tinfoil Hats to Accepted Science. The theme of this symposium is UFOs in the Spotlight, how media has covered UFOs. And it's very timely considering the UAP hearings that we just had.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. The MUFON community. First, I want to get the MUFON community's like stance on it, or what is being talked about, maybe, and then I want to get your stance on it. So,
okay, well, it's we see it as good news, and it's we applaud that it was on TV and that it's out in the open. Because it's out in the open, we've had an increase in people who are reporting to MUFON. I also made a video about it, everything you need to know about the UAP hearing, on my YouTube channel, Alien Spirit TV, where I cover the most important parts, and I also give my perspective as an experiencer. I thought it divulged a lot of information. Yes, it was cloaked in fear because they kept saying you have to be afraid of what's in the sky. But if you also pay attention to all the other information that came forth, there was a lot. They talked about MUFON, they talked about Project Blue Book, Nimitz, the Tic Tac video, the Admiral Wilson memo. There was a lot that was mentioned. And so the two men didn't say very much, and they also squirmed in their chairs a couple times. I don't know if you watched it. Did you watch it?
I did. It's it's on my YouTube channel, so I
Yes.
streamed it. I streamed it that morning. Yeah, it's I could be mistaken. I need to go back and listen to it over again, but I think they uttered the words dimensions at one point, and but they skated right away from it as soon as they did. But I agree with you. I believe there was a lot of, and I talk about this with every guest since it's been on. This is like one of the things we talk about. But I think that a lot of people in our community were like, oh, they didn't let nothing out. This is all stuff we known. But this is all stuff that our community has known, not the general public.
That's right.
And to have it put out into the general public that there's been 11 near misses of from being intercepted on ships or whatever like that. Just that one little information, if you take a step back and listen, okay, I don't know anything about the UFO, and I just come across this hearing, and then you hear that the government has tracked 10 or 11 different incidences where some U.S. military vehicles have almost come in contact with, come and crash with the unidentified flying object. That's mind-blowing information. But
at least 11. And
yeah.
So there's still a huge cover-up going on. Do you remember when the gentlemen's names were Bray and Moultrie, and there was one gentleman who was showing a video, and he had a really hard time pointing out what we were supposed to see in the video because it was a crappy video. It was a horrible video. Yeah. And so the reason he used that video was to support his claim that they don't have a lot of answers because the data and the videos they're getting are weak. They're not good. But we know the government has really good videos. So the one that he showed so bad. And then he attempted to say, this is why we keep saying, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, because we get data like this. And that just doesn't fly. It doesn't work.
Well, you know, the hearings and all that, if you put all these different conspiracies that we've been going through for all these years, you know, the Project Bluebeam, Mockingbird, and all these other secret government programs that are now coming out, and we know that they have actually happened. If we put that information with these UFO hearings, and now we know that this is something that we've been tracking for years. If we put those two together, like, and that there was how many times that we had to defer to a private session during the
Yeah.
during the UFO hearing, we had to
Yes.
defer to private session.
Yes.
They have known for so long about consciousness and how it works that
Oh, yeah.
they know a lot. They know very deeply on what goes on with
Yes.
this relationship with ET, and our relationship with ET once it hits the mainstream. That's what they want. That's what they're scared of letting go, because I think they're scared of how people are going to react, like
Yeah.
to when they find out the true relationship to ET, that there is we're very close related. You know, that's going to be hard for people to really grasp. Yeah, the
Yes.
general
So,
public.
yes. So, how the public will respond to it, but also what's going to happen to the rich, the richest of the richest of the rich,
There's
because
yeah,
the
it all
ET,
collapses. Yeah.
yeah, they're going to give us information on how to get free energy, which Tesla already knew how to do,
Hmm.
and more than that. And so we're going to be educated in how the government has just put their thumb on our heads and just kept us down, 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 down. And so they don't want that to come out either. It's very interesting in the information that experiencers get. So the information tends to be about the hybridization program, about technology, about spirituality. A lot of experiences are given beautiful messages about how we're all one, yet at the same time, we're all individually autonomous, and messages about self empowerment. And the government doesn't want us to be self empowered. Yeah.
No.
Mhm.
No, they've known about all this technology for a long time. That's where all the Pledge of Allegiance and all this stuff comes from. You know that I talked about this. I think when we had the round table, we had like a little round table with like Gigi from Shift Happens and Jess Rogie from Jess Rogie Show, and Jason Quitt joined us. But yeah, we're just talking about how the government has known about consciousness very deeply. Maybe not the government, but the powers to be that run the government. They have known about it for a long time and implanted these strategies to harvest our manifestation energy to manifest a reality that they want. Now,
Yes.
now slowly but surely, where there's there individually there's we're taking back our sovereignty and starting to manifest this individual, and now it's starting to be shared visions. You know, we're starting to manifest into real.
Yes, yes. Well, our government has been testing our telepathic skills and our interdimensional, multidimensional skills for decades. I really do believe that this Men in Black that appeared in my bedroom, I call it an astral Men in Black. I really do think that the government knows how to visit us interdimensionally. I also have experiences with MILAB. So there's that too, that the government's been messing with experiencers. The government wants to know what experiencers know. And so they know who the experiencers are, and we're debriefed.
I believe that. I really believe that. That's So, have you had any reports of people thinking they're being like higher vibrational people, thinking like after they experience, thinking that they're tracked by satellites that are tracking their energy output?
I have had cases where, after contact, the witnesses have thought that they are being tracked, not just with satellites, but also with things embedded in them,
Mm.
and through other means as well. Um, I personally tend to think that implants aren't for tracking. I personally think there are biological or maybe mental or spiritual reasons that they're in there. They're so far advanced that they can find an individual anywhere whenever they want. We don't need a little GPS stuck onto us.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
So do you think the implants are organic from like someone on our planet? You don't think our implants are from off planet?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yes. Off
Okay.
plan. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of, through experiencers, abductions and stuff like that, people, is there cases where you can start to differentiate that this was done by something organic on our planet? Maybe someone, someone, part of a secret program, and there's experiencers that come forward that are definitely from off planet and had bona fide ET experiences. Is there a way is there a protocol to start to differentiate like those two circumstances? Because I believe, first off, is that true? Is there both experiences that way? Is there stage abductions from people on this planet, and bona fide experiences from beings off planet?
Well, according to the experiences, if these are staged, then our government knows how to have telepathic communication and knows how to levitate people and knows how to do all kinds of stuff. And I don't think that our government will stage something like that and then impart beautiful, loving, spiritual messages. So because I know Dr. Greer says this, if they are staged, it's done purely to scare the individual and to keep them down and to keep them quiet. I don't come across experiences like that. The people who are contacting me personally and through MUFON, they tend to be very positive and very loving. Sometimes they're not. And that's when we have to investigate really the perspective that the person has, the perspective on how they view themselves and the world and their role in it. Because if you're seeing yourself as a victim like I used to, or if you have a really negative or low vibratory assessment of yourself and your role in the cosmos, that's going to alter your perspective, and it's also going to create a negative experience. So I used to think mine were negative. Now I can see that they were very, very positive. I'm not saying that negative experiences don't happen, because there are low vibratory beings. There are an infinite amount of dimensions with an infinite amount of consciousnesses of a variety of vibrations and frequencies. That's why it's really important to keep your vibe high, so that you align with the higher frequency, non-human intelligence or otherworldly beings.
I love how that's put. So, would you say that we're moving through an evolutionary shift, like in humanity? We're moving towards a different phase of our human race. Another page, I believe. Higher vibration.
Yes.
And I think a part to move forward, I think we have to understand the concept of oneness consciousness and be able to absorb that through our knowing. I
Yes.
think that's a key part to move forward. So I
Yes.
think a safe bet would be to say that, because people ask me all the time, there's the conversation is largely about, is there negative ET races, is there positive ET races, or is there just positive ET races? I believe that anything higher vibrational than us, there's no way that it could be negative, because the understanding of oneness is inherent in the being. So what would you call a lower being an alien? Who knows? But I think that would be just talking with you right now, I've just formulated this, because I get asked this all the time, and I argue with people. I was like, I don't believe there's a negative ET race, because ET for me is off planet and higher vibrational than I'm at right now, and I know I'm at full oneness consciousness. So
Yes. So it does come down to what is your definition of off planet,
mhm,
because there are all kinds of entities that do not live on Earth that some people might not call an ET, because
mhm.
consciousnesses come in a variety of forms. Some have bodies, some don't even have bodies. But from my experience, they've all been positive.
Mhm.
And for most of the cases or most of the witnesses that contact me, they're positive. The biggest problem is the person coming to terms with it. Like I had a
Mhm.
really hard time coming to terms with it. That's why I hid it all my life until 3 or 4 years ago. So that's where I offer guidance to help them shed the fear and to come out to themselves. They don't have to come out to the world, but they have to come out to themselves. And then their life will dramatically change in a beautiful way once you come out to yourself. But that's the hardest part.
Yeah, man, I love hearing. So is your stance, is this a general stance of MUFON, understanding that this is more of a consciousness aspect than anything else?
Well, MUFON knows that there's a 3D aspect to it, but also knows that there's an interdimensional aspect to it as well. Yes.
Hmm.
And that's actually the shift that's happening. A lot of the cases now are shifting from just 3D to you're in the woods and you see a spaceship and it shines a light on you, or you're driving and all of a sudden you stop. We're hearing less and less of that and more of this interdimensional, multi-dimensional communication that's happening, where the body is levitated and taken out of the roof, where their frequency, their biological frequency changes so much that they're vibrating higher than the wall, so they can go right through the wall, go up into spaceships, go visit other planets. Through time warps and through portals.
Is there a few stories that you could share with us? Maybe not any details about the person themselves, but any stories that really ring out to you, that
Yes,
really stick out to you.
one of my favorites happened right here in North Carolina. It was a young gentleman, and he was going to work early in the morning, around 5 o'clock in the morning, and he's driving, and there aren't any cars on the road. And he sees this triangular craft to the left of him ahead, and then it comes right over him and keeps on going, and he has a really clear view of it, and he calls his girlfriend and he's explaining it, describing it to her on the phone as it's moving over him. And he described to me what it looked like, and there was no sound, and he had seen craft before, so he didn't freak out. Now what's so interesting is just shortly after that, maybe a week or two later, he had a new baby, and he fell asleep on the couch, and he was awakened and he sees this star being in his living room coming closer, just slightly elevated off the floor, in the human shape. And he said it just looked like stars, like you're looking into space, and it was like white and golden. And it was holding a baby, it was holding a star baby. And so I asked him, well, what do you think that means? Since you just had a baby and you just saw a craft, and now there's this ET in your living room holding a baby. How do you put all that together? And he wasn't. Sometimes people are afraid to say what they're really thinking, because they're afraid that I'm going to think they're crazy. But believe you, I'm not going to think you're crazy.
I
Uh,
I really
and
understand that.
And so I asked him if he knew about the hybridization program, and he did. I asked him if he ever really gave thought to it. Did he ever think he was part of it? And he said he's not sure. I mean, he's entertained that thought. And then I asked him, do you think your baby's part of it? And some time went by, and his baby is one of these new types of babies that are coming now, where they're very enlightened. They're very telepathic and intuitive and very, very smart, developed beyond their years. That's a sign something's going on. ET DNA has been activated. We all have ET DNA. Some of us activated more of it than others. And so there is a correlation between that baby and that star baby showing up holding a baby.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you want to hear a story about my? I love talking about my son. By the way,
Yes.
my mom Karen's in the chat room right now. Thanks for joining, Mom.
Hey, Mom.
Uh,
Yeah.
Chuck's in the chat room. Chuck's been to ceremony with us before. Yeah. Anybody over there listening on Facebook, make sure you go over and give us a subscribe and like over on YouTube as well. Helps move our channel forward and all that. Just want to throw it out there. But my son Hawk, so he was born on
Oh, great name.
he was born on 1/11 of this year.
Uh,
So January 11th. He was original due date was April 4th, so 4/4. So he was born really early, and
wow.
it
Yeah.
was a lot in the being in the hospital. He's in the NICU for like 9 months. He's doing great now, but the night I was interviewing on a podcast with Jess Rogie. Actually, I'm going to be on her show tomorrow. Just it's crazy how this comes about. But you talking about the baby made me think about this. But I was doing a podcast right here, and the bathroom for our cabin is like right below me. So I heard my wife was pregnant. I heard her moaning down there. I was like, Jess, I gotta go, and went downstairs, and she was having contractions. I was like, oh man, we gotta go to the hospital. This is way too early, and all this stuff. Headed to the hospital, and we look over, and there's a meteor that is going in line with us for about 7 seconds towards the town we were headed towards.
Oh
And
my gosh.
I look at my wife and I'm like, "Do you see that?" She's like, "Yeah, it's amazing. It's like changing colors. It was so low, and it was running parallel with the ground, but I don't know, maybe 20,000 feet off the ground, 30,000 feet off the ground, and just it was there forever. And I knew something was going to happen. I didn't know what, good or bad, but I knew something was about to happen. And man, now that he's here, I know that he wrote in on that comment, like,
Mm-hmm.
and it's where I'm at right now in my journey, and I know that he's gonna eclipse me, by a lot, and that's weird to think about, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
they're a gift. These kids are a gift to the planet to help us in
mhm,
our transformation. And unfortunately, we are assigning all kinds of letters and weird names to them, thinking that there's something wrong with them, ADHD and ADD and this and that and autistic and all that kind of stuff. And so some of these children are growing up thinking that they're defective. And it's really a crime.
yeah, I mean I've come to find out the way that we had him is definitely not the way we wanted to. We wanted to have a more of a definitely more Native American birth and traditional. We wanted to have him at home birth if we could, and just how it worked out was just the total flip opposite. And then having to spend so much time in the hospital, there was just so many messages and things that we learned through that, like seeing the manipulation and the control that they have on the general public from the get go. How the things that they prescribe to them and things that they trying to force us to vaccinations and circumcisions and things like that. And it's all things that are preconceived and been we're made to believe that we need them. And
Yes.
we fought him on everything that we could. And now he's thriving, and it's just awesome. I hear a
Yeah,
bird I hear a bird in the background, I think.
that's a good story. Yeah, my windows are open. So.
Nice. Nice. Trevor's in the chat room. Hey Trevor. Yeah, so the consciousness connection, like, is there a lot of reports of an event happening, like a paradigm shifting, like a Stephen Greer um mass contact event for the planet? Does that come up a lot with people seeing that and visions or whatever?
Are people getting messages about a? Do you mean a sighting by millions of people?
Correct. Not an invasion, just a paradigm shifting mass contact event, like a Phoenix Lights on steroids.
uh, I have not come in contact with anyone who has received that message. It could well be because it's just not time, and that's just not going to happen right now.
Uh-huh.
Because human beings are just so mean, especially Americans. Americans love murder. They just love anything to do with death and murder, and and struggle and abuse. And so that is a heavy vibe that we need to neutralize or diminish.
When you say that, goes back to like the whole victim ed thing, like the victim mindset is very easy to go into, and it's something I've had to go through it too. I was definitely had to get over the victim mentality to move forward in my
Yes.
path, and know that's part of it.
Yeah.
But it seems it's an ingrained in our system,
Mhm.
um, through everything, through food, through the media,
Right.
through through to to put us into this box where all that we can do is either stick with the program or think that we're a victim or feel sorry for ourselves. There's at the end of the 3D hold, there's not much options but to have a negative stance and where you're at. If you're not paying your bills and doing working 40 hours a week and being
At least.
in and being in the mold that America is supposed to see, then you're ostracized for it. You know,
Oh, yes, you are. We get mixed messages. On the one hand, we're always told, follow your heart. But then when you do, it's like you're just cut down immediately.
yeah,
But it's still possible to follow your heart. It's still possible to live authentically. You got to be brave. You got to be brave to do that. There are a
yeah,
lot of brave people who can do that. And if you want to be brave, you don't think you are, you can get help. There is a lot of help.
yeah. It's more and more. I see this movement how it's been shifting over the past few years. Right away, I knew it was not about nuts and bolts. I knew it because the consciousness aspect brought me into the UFO field. So from the beginning, I knew it was not about nuts and bolts. Was just a small part of the equation, and I'm so glad that the conversation is shifting
Yes.
into the consciousness aspect and really getting down to the actual message of all of these years and years of contact and sightings, what it all adds up to. We all hold this integral part of a beautiful puzzle, and trying to put it together to see what it looks like. Now we're starting to see what the actual puzzle is supposed to look like.
Yes. I watched a really good movie last night. Have you seen the Ariel phenomena about the school in Zimbabwe, the little
I
kids who
I
saw?
haven't. I will though. I will.
It's
I've
good.
been. It's on my list. I've
It's
been.
good.
Watching stuff for uh, guests coming up. The guests that are coming up. I
Right.
make
Yeah.
sure I'm seeing them. But
Hmm. And
yeah,
so you hear about this experience where a craft landed and beings came out and interacted with the children in grade school, sixth grade and down. And so they interview the kids. John Mack interviews them. And you can tell when a kid's lying. You can tell when a kid's not sincere. All of these kids are very sincere. And you can tell that they're telling the truth. And sometimes I come across people who say, where is the proof? I need the evidence. I'm like, man, there's so much evidence. It's all around you. This movie, if someone doesn't believe, I suggest they watch this movie because it's very, very compelling.
yeah. That's so. How many children was there? How many actual witnesses of this?
I
Uh,
hope I'm
and
not wrong, but I thought 50 or 60.
and there were school teachers involved as well. Too. There wasn't just kids that saw it.
I don't recall any school teacher stepping up and saying that they saw it. It was the kids were out in recess.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think this is one of my goals with this show is, to have guests on and share not only the guest experience, my experience, share it with the listeners to know, just to, so it's okay for people to express themselves and start to, you know, dissect stuff that they've been through. Because this is the only way we're going to move forward. This is the only way I'm going to move forward personally, is if the mass move forward,
Yeah.
of
So the
and
irony of it all is most experiencers are experiencers since childhood. And so here are all these children, including these kids in Zimbabwe, who've been given a profound message of reality. And so why are they given to children? Because really children are great messengers. But then most children just stay quiet. And so in this movie, they interviewed some of these children that grew up to be adults. And the one lady said, "Oh, I never talk about it. My husband doesn't even know." Yeah. Yeah. And
it's
when the kids were talking about it when they went home, the religious parents said, "Shh, no, 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 you didn't see that. And you're not going to talk about it again." Oh my gosh. Imagine.
I think that's the case with a lot of us. I get asked all, especially how where my mind is now. People ask me all the time, like, "What happened to you as a kid?" I'm like, nothing that I can remember. There's not much. There's one time I shot a cloud with a BB gun and it went the other way because I was playing outside and I didn't want to rain, so I thought by shooting it was gonna change directions and it did,
Hmm.
and I slept walk one time and that's about it. Like and a dream, a recurring dream, but other I don't have like
What's the
major. I was falling through darkness as a child. So I was as my child self, but I was falling through darkness, and there was a net, a multicolored net that was made out of strands of some material that I'm not, you know, it's kind of like a net that's underneath trapeze artists at a circus, but it was made out of material and made out of colors that are not here, and
recall?
it was stretched out over a large area, and I'm just falling through this darkness, and I hit that, and I crawl over to the edge, and I look down, and there's just more darkness, and then I wake up. So
Whoa.
that was
That's really, I'm glad you share that with us because a lot of people don't even realize they're experiencers because they chalk up an experience like that as a dream, but they're real.
yeah,
And so we're conditioned to think that anything like that is either imaginary or dream. And our brain can't quite come up with a word for what that experience is. It's an interdimensional experience. It's real.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah. And so that's why I really believe there are millions of experiencers, and most of whom don't even know that they're having experience because they're discounting them.
What would you go as far to say as everybody has had an experience at some point in their life, but it's been chalked up or hidden under perception?
Well, I think everybody, just by the nature of our quantumness, has made contact with another worldly being in another dimension because we exist in all the dimensions. And as you and I are talking here, are the other parts of us in the other dimensions are having conversations with other beings at the same time that you and I are talking. So I do believe that everyone comes in contact with other worldly beings. Now, some are not aware of it, some don't want to be aware of it. That's a different issue. But especially if you started on a spiritual path, and especially if you're meditating, you are absolutely coming in contact with other beings. Usually that you are aware of and conscious of, because the meditation allows you to be in that state where you can receive that information.
It's very interesting. You gotta receive peace in your heart before you can really experience this for what it truly is. What so was this a download, or like from your experiences, your mindset where you're at right now? I'm very um let's see how to put this. I can see where your mindset's at. I can see, I can see where your consciousness, I can see where your vibrations at. So was this a download, or was this a byproduct of multiple experiences?
All of it. All
All
of
of it.
it. Byproduct of the information that was given me, byproduct of how I was raised. I started meditating in fifth grade. Byproduct of also all the sessions that I give to my clients. Every session I have with a client, I've had thousands, is a session for me too. And so it's just years and years and years of information. And that makes sense. And when you follow the information, it leads you to such a beautiful place that you
Mhm.
can't deny that there is truth there.
Yeah, I totally get it. I'm so glad that I'm so glad that more and more people that are accepting this, and I'm really honored. My mom's in the chat room tonight and listening to
Yeah.
this right now. It's for let's talk about, we got into it the other night, a little bit about the dark side of this, like the dark side is of it, like I had Kevin Day on, that's who we were talking about it, and it was a big thing with him. He was part of the Nimitz incident, and it was a big toll on him because this happened in the mid 2000s, and him trying to deal with this in an environment that was much different than it is now, much less accepting of the UFO phenomenon. And he was talking about the dark side of this thing. People. There's no guides that tell you that the strain it's going to put on your relationship with your friends and family and people around you, just because they seen you at one point in this, after a bona fide experience, you you're basically a different person. So the communication is different. It's and there's a lot of strain, mentally, physically, and a lot of it has to do with relationships with people, and family. Can you can we you have any experience with that, or like, or
Oh, yeah.
do or do I'm sure that people that um share their stories with MUFON and report, it has to be part of the conversation a lot.
Oh, yes, yes. Often their family members don't know, their spouses don't know, and if they do say anything, they're just looked at in such a strange manner that they just shut themselves up. I look at it as a purging, because ET contact raises your frequency. And we radiate a frequency, we're all energy, and everything in our lives is there, people, careers, places, everything is because the energy of that is aligned with yours. So if you want to change anything in your life, the first thing you have to do is tweak your energy to a different vibration, then you align with different people, different careers, different places, all of that. And so ET contact is also not by accident. So that's one thing I help witnesses discover, is this is not by accident. What do you think you're to learn from this, and how can this help you, and then help your family, and then help the community, and then help the world? As far as the dark side goes, I don't really talk about this with anybody in my family. My mother read my book. My sister has not. My cousin's daughter read the book. And that's it. It's just not talked about in my family. Even though everyone's a believer, just about everyone's a believer, but still, for some reason, they just really don't want to talk about it. If I've lost friends, I'm not aware of that, because friends do come and go.
Yeah.
But I really see it as a beautiful purging. And so sometimes relationships do have to go because you're no longer in a vibrational sync with that person.
Hmm.
Uh, and that's why it's really important to get help. And these days, it's so easy to get help. 10, 20 years ago, it was really hard, but now it's super easy to reach out to an experiencer group, or to reach out to me, contact me, or to contact MUFON.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
okay, I'm sorry, but also talking about the dark aspect of it. There's MILAB, which is dark, military abductions, and also these astral men in black. The encounter that I had with the astral men in black was scary, and it just showed up in the middle of the night, about 2 feet from my bedroom. At the time, I didn't realize it, but it was attached to a girlfriend who was visiting me, and it was tall, and it had like that hat, and it was blacker than the blackness of the room. And I felt right away its energy came out of it and into me, into my chest. And it was like these fingers, it came in and it was just pulling at me. It felt like it was pulling my essence out of me. And I insisted, no, you have to go. That's because I know I'm in control. And we had this energetic battle. It lasted for a little bit. And I was very adamant. No, I don't have what you're looking for. I don't have the fear. I don't have the food that you want. You have to go, you have to go, you have to go, you have to go. It finally left, and I realized, man, if you don't know that you're in control, and if you don't know that you can insist they go, it is really easy to succumb to that energy, because it was a really, really intense energy.
And what's that program called? To be honest, this is the first time I've heard
Oh,
that.
military abductions. Yes. So
Military
I
abductions.
have a few conscious memories of those, and they're either neutral or they're bad.
What is the goal of this? To implant, to try to, from the UFO hearing, that the government is definitely floating the idea of trying to really implement this false narrative that there's going to be this invasion that, it's going to look like, the day after tomorrow, and then all these the Independence Day and all this stuff, the Independence Day push.
Yes, it's interesting you should bring that up, because while I was having that Astral Men in Black incident, my girlfriend was sleeping in the guest room. So the next day I woke up and I said, did anything happen to you last night? She goes, yes. Did anything happen to you? Yes. So I told her about my Men in Black incident, and she told me that she woke up in the middle of the night. She looked out the window. I live by the water. So she's just looking out over the water. And there in the sky was hovering Jesus Christ. And she heard, we can do this. We can make anything appear like a hologram, holograph, I don't know the difference. And we can trick you. And we can make anything appear that we want you to see. At the same time, I was having this Astral Men in Black visit me. I know they're tied.
Yeah, it's amazing. So you think the Jesus was from the government?
Well, I don't know if it was for the government, but she was being told that they, whoever they are, I don't know if it's the U.S. government or some other group that we're not even aware of, can create this false scenario, this false picture that looks real because through the hologram, and believe it. So that supports, because I've also heard this theory that there's going to be a false attack, and it's fake.
Definitely Greer. I was at Gaia back in September and went to one of Greer's workshops he put on there, and yeah, it was definitely, and I believe it, because I really don't, like I said earlier, I don't believe past this by, in a higher vibrational state, there's the facts just don't support there being any negative aspect, because the oneness aspect is the focus point really of the shift.
Yes.
So how would you so you so we can you describe the evolutionary shift that we're in right now? Can you, like, as far as frequency, that is it, third to fourth to fifth, like in your way of seeing it?
I don't really use those terms, third, fourth, fifth dimension. I just don't do that. I look at it more in terms of personal empowerment and the ability to honor your heart. That's what's happening. Listening to the heart. There's a highway between the mind and the heart. And if that highway is open, then you live authentically and you're successful and you're healthy and you're happy and you're fulfilled, dynamic, creative. But if you continue to put obstacles in that highway between your heart and your mind, which is what our society has taught us to do, you're off balance, you're off kilter, you're resentful, you're jealous, you're not happy, you're sick. So this is the shift that I'm seeing, that people are opening up that highway of information between the heart and the mind, which is benefiting them. And every single person counts. Every single person counts. My clients ask me, what can I do to help the world? Well, help yourself. Glow, as much happiness as you can. It might be hard right now, but you still can radiate happiness and fulfillment. That is the most important work we could individually do.
Would you say that clearing your throat chakra is part of opening up that pathway in between your heart and your mind of speaking your truth?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, people are not speaking their truth. And there's a lot of victimization happening. You were a victim, I was a victim. I help people get rid of that victim vibe. It's a killer.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Like, when I was given my spiritual path, I fought it for a long time because I didn't think I deserved it because the things I experienced, I did in Iraq. I'm like, you got the wrong person. Maybe you got a letter off or something, but you got the wrong person that's supposed to be this messenger. And then I had to figure out that I had to learn forgiveness for myself, really. And
Yeah,
it was
and
all
that you're worthy. You're worthy. We're all worthy of having
where
the kind of life that we want, create our life to our standards.
I wish that people could see how how deep of a blessing and how much of a miracle it is each breath that we take. Like I asked the spirits one time to show me how important we all were, like how or what were words like and all this, and really showed me a butterfly and it flapping its wings, and then it opened up the dimensional field and showed how that butterfly flapping its wings in this reality can ripple through like all dimensional space. So that
Yes.
that just showed me everything, all other things. If we're praying for someone, how large that or
Oh,
saying a prayer for ourselves or saying a prayer for our food or anything like that is just
yes.
so huge.
Absolutely, because energy does not die. And
Hmm.
so the energy of the prayer, the energy of the letters, the numbers, the words, everything just radiates and keeps on going. Yes.
What do you think this realization is going to do to the world religions? Do you think it's just going to unravel everything, or
Well, eventually it will have to.
yeah?
Even though
I
the
mean,
Vatican believes in UFOs and believes in ETs, and they've said that. Uh, uh, but when an ET lands, are people going to try and convert them to Christianity or to be a Catholic? What's going to happen?
yeah, I
Uh,
think.
so,
Go ahead. Sorry.
yes, it is an issue. A lot of religions will come tumbling down, and that's okay. It's okay.
I mean, everything evolves, and we have to let go of things to evolve for sure.
Yes.
And this I've thought about this. My religion. Kind of Native American ways, and ayahuasca ceremonies and things like that. It's kind of my religion. But as over the past couple of years, I realized that I have to step back when I do ceremonies now and go back into the ritual, and I can still honor the rituals even where I'm at. Like I can step back and know that it's actually a totally different perception of it. It's not it's seeing why these rituals are important to get to a certain point. You know, and it's took me a little while to be able to step back in a sense to be able to do the ayahuasca ceremony still. But yeah, it's
So
just
you're more of an observer.
well, yeah. I mean, that's all we all are. But I'm running the ceremonies still, but it's definitely I know that I know full on I'm calling in spirits, and I'm definitely there's a point where I definitely step back and I can feel them there, and and allow myself as that instrument, in the ceremony to happen. Because some people, even even though I've done hours and hours and years of speaking on these subjects, like in books and stuff like that, it still has to come from a different that they need it from a different way. And if they come to me for a ceremony, I know that their awakening has to come through that ceremony, for it to have
Mhm.
validity. you know
Yes. Mhm.
yeah. So what's your I think we talked about this before we started the show. A lot of your experiencers, they've had experience with psychedelics. Is that have you seen psychedelics start to come into the conversation more over the past few years, or?
Well, I wouldn't say a lot, but my clients, some of my clients have come to me uh, after experiencing an ayahuasca. So I knew them before the ayahuasca, and then they have the ayahuasca, and then they come back, and I'm like, phew! I mean, my gosh, they like went 1,000 years into the future when it comes to like expanding their mind and having knowledge. Not only that, but they gained like this, they feel empowered and they feel like they're in charge of themselves and in charge of their lives, and no one's going to knock them off course anymore. And also, they feel so loved and safe. Yes, that
Wow.
is golden. To feel that, that is absolutely magnificent.
I'm gonna cut this clip out. It's gonna be on my it's gonna be on my face on my website as a commercial. Man, that was great. Yeah, it's like I told you before, like ayahuasca came first and then the experience happened. Have you come across many experiences like that with experiencers saying, you know, it doesn't have to be necessarily ayahuasca, but a spiritual awakening, and then they start having encounters after that?
Uh, from the people who've contacted me, because I do ask them, was this a dream? Was this a drug experience? Were you awake? What was it? And most of them were not drug induced. And most of them were not dreams, interestingly enough. Most of them either came through a meditation or in that state right before you fall asleep or in the state just as you're about to awake. A lot of the experiences are happening then. I do not discount a drug related experience.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, no. Uh-uh.
No, I was more speaking like after like months after like an awakening. It doesn't have to be through ayahuasca, but any awakening has there been a lot of any cases where the awakening has come first and then the UFO experience. So it's
Uh,
like
yes. Yes. We were talking about this earlier. As you step onto the path of spirituality, you raise your frequency, your personal
mhm,
vibration. So then you're able to see, feel, and hear through the dimensions a lot easier,
mhm.
and to use the other faculties that we have, that a quantum ability. And so that is often when they start meeting ETs or otherworldly beings. Yes.
Eh, What what percentage of your reports are angels or like or biblical experiences? Or is there reports that come in like that, or are they all UFOs?
Well, through MUFON, it's mostly UFOs. It's not so much as angels. If someone has more of an angelic experience, they contact me personally. They don't really go through MUFON. People just think that MUFON is mostly for ETs and UFOs and things like that. But often, if you come in contact with an ET, you do come in contact with another worldly being, which could be a spirit guide, it could be dead people, it could be angels. It could be a variety. Oh my gosh, there's so many different types.
Why do you think that? Why do you think that trauma is a catalyst for some of these experiences? You know, like I talked to heard a Travis Walton story. You know, everyone's if you have if you're listening to this podcast or anywhere close to this podcast, you heard of Travis Walton. You know, and his story. I before I met him in 2019 at Contact in the Desert, and before that, I was kind of passing judgment on him. You know, and like I was like, well, maybe he didn't. I think maybe he's making this story up. You know, because if he's just talking about the negative aspect. That's all I ever heard about it. But when I met him in person and got to talk to with him for a few minutes, you know, he's like, "Man, I was wrong for so many years. I just finally figured out, you know, it was, I, you know, the meaning behind, you know, the meaning why this all happened and all this stuff." And I'm like, wow, you know, and just looking at his eyes, I knew, you could just feel that, you know, no matter how real that was for him, it was 100. Whatever he's saying, it was 100% real for him. you know, and that's what we have to. I think that's what we have to really get to as a community, especially listen to people share their stories. Like we can't judge whether it's real or not. It doesn't matter whether it actually physically happened or not. It's if it's real to them, it 100% actually happened. I know my experience is like I don't have any proof from it. Like I never brung back a bolt from a ship. You know, I don't have any material from any being I ever had in contact with, but I have had real experiences that affected me. You know, and I think the important thing to focus on is what what is taken from the experience. Like what did that person receive from the experience to move
Yes.
forward?
Yes, and so that's a beautiful example of how your perspective really colors your narrative of what happened. So before, he was probably a fear-based person, so he had this experience that was all nasty and bad. But I've also heard him say that the movie, also, he wasn't very happy with the movie because it was kind of made to be extra scary, things like
Hmm.
that too. Also, Terry Lovelace. Do you know Terry Lovelace, Devil's Den? Uh,
Yes.
yes, he's a friend of mine too. And he's also had transformation and perspective. He has an amazing story. Yeah, his books are really good.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Awesome. Yeah, Terry Lovelace. Oh, I know there was a question. What can you recall that the name of that documentary with the children from Zimbabwe? I know there was a question in
Yes,
the.
it's Ariel, Ariel phenomena. Ariel is the name of the elementary school in Zimbabwe. So the Ariel phenomena or
Gotcha.
phenomenon. Yeah.
Cool. Yes. Let's see.
And you can rent it right now. I think it's about $19-20 to rent.
Is it on Amazon or something or?
I don't know if it was on Amazon or anything like that. I couldn't. I think it's just this independent platform.
Uh-huh. Wow. So what's the name of your book again? Let me try to put it in here real quick.
You have the right to talk to aliens
You have the right
on
to talk.
Amazon. And so I talk about some of my experiences. I also have pictures in there. For instance, here's a drawing of that baby that they showed me in a tube, which I held. Uh, okay, which way I'm going? That way. Okay, it's a baby. Uh-oh. Do you hear my cat?
Yeah,
Uh-oh. There's a fight
yeah,
about happened between my cat and my dog. Excuse me, please.
that's all right. That's all right. I'm pulling up
Okay, there we go. All right. Uh, yes, so the book, I talk about my experiences and I also talk about the importance of coming out to yourself and how, when I came out to myself, how my life changed. And I talk about why I was afraid. And when you're not your authentic self, it's not like you can compartmentalize and be okay. So I'm not going to be authentic when it comes to my ETs, but I'm going to be authentic in my relationships. I'm going to be authentic in my friendships and at work. But it doesn't work that way. If you're not authentic in one realm of your life, it filters into every single realm of your life, and it affects you. It affects your fulfillment. It affects your success. It affects your health.
so here's a link for your
Thank
book.
you. Thank
Um
you.
and so what are some of the resources, have you had a regression? Is that part of your healing journey with all this? Or like quantum regression or
Well, all the experiences I talk about are conscious memories.
uh-huh.
I did undergo hypnotherapy when I had an incident in Roswell, New Mexico, where I came in contact with the Greys, and so did my boyfriend at the time. And that freaked us out, and it freaked me out. I just couldn't get back to normal. And so a friend told me about a lady named Diane Kensler in Virginia who has experience with hypnotherapy and experiencers. So I went to her, and that was an excellent experience. And I share virtually word for word what happened in that regression therapy in my book. But however, I really pretty much just stick to my conscious memories when I talk about my history.
Right on. So, there's your cat again.
Yeah.
It's all right. It's no big deal.
Okay.
So, um, like for people moving forward, if they come in and they come and tell you about experience, like this is, would you say this a valuable thing to help them see if they want to understand more about their experience, or if they have lost time or whatever? Do you is there people that you suggest going to? I know Kathleen Marden, she's obviously one of the good ones, but she stays booked up, I'm pretty sure. But there's tons of other very able-bodied people out there to help with the regressions, or quantum healing, whatever you want to call it. Is there anybody else that you would suggest that they could go to?
Uh, well, Diane Kensler that I talked about, who's in Virginia. Okay, there's a fight that's about to happen.
Yeah, that's all right.
I don't know what's gotten into the cat. All of a sudden, he wants to attack the dog.
Live,
Very sorry about that. I don't know what's going on. And also, I would suggest contacting MUFON, because MUFON has a vetted list of hypnotherapists and counselors that can help you.
That's awesome. So the MUFON Symposium starts on the 8th. Is that correct? It'd be
Yes, July.
8th,
8,
9th,
9,
and 10th.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll be speaking at an event on the 10th. They're right up there in Golden. I'm in Colorado, so I'll be speaking at an event right there, up by Denver, and might try to swing by and see Dave. I haven't never met Dave in person. We've been friends for a while, so
Yeah. Oh, that'd be wonderful. I
yeah,
hope you can do that.
yeah, I hope so too. So what's in the future for you? You said you're working on some more books, and the symposium, obviously near future. But what's the overall goals? Like, you gonna take over MUFON one
Well,
day, or
I really like making videos, so I'll be making more videos on my YouTube channel, Alien Spirit TV. And on there, I have videos about how to raise your frequency, how to meditate, how to channel, how to connect with other worldly beings in a safe way. And also talk about my experiences too. I have a lot of information on that channel. And uh, I'm going to concentrate on videos and writing, interviews. I'm also in a Canadian documentary, and I would like to do some more documentaries and more TV shows, movies, those kind of things. So there's a lot to do now that there's more acceptance about this. So it's
for
exciting.
sure, for sure. So let's talk a little bit about that. Like, what do you talk about on your page? Like, how do you on your channel? How do you raise your vibration, channeling? Let's
Mhm.
speak whatever comes to you about that. Like, I'm all about that. Like, I've channeled. My first spontaneous channeling was Osiris, and then that's a whole big thing that's unraveled over the time. But
Mhm.
so I would love to hear more. Like, what's your channeling experience, and some more about
Mhm.
that.
Mhm. Uh, well, all of the sessions that I do are multidimensional, interdimensional information that comes through. Uh, Reading the energy of my client, just picking up information that floats around us in this matrix. Information is everywhere, and you can plug into that. And also talking with spirit guides and such. The videos that I have, I stress the importance of your vibration, because the quality of your vibration is going to determine the quality of your channeling, or the quality of the information that you get, the quality of the contact that you make with another worldly being. So I talk about how you can raise your frequency, and then at the end of each one, I've specially created these meditations, guided meditations with my voice, and also high vibe music to take you there. So some people just really don't even know how to go there to even make contact. Some people don't even know how to meditate. Some people think you have to make your mind blank to meditate, and that's not true. I never make my mind blank when I meditate, because I use that as an opportunity to get information and to see things and hear things. And so to raise your frequency, that can be done in a variety of ways, as you well know. It's really stems from your mind, your beliefs about yourself, beliefs about your role on Earth, and also just the simple things like what kind of books do you read, what kind of movies do you watch, are you really into murder? Do you like to watch people being killed? Are you playing video games where you're killing people? What do you eat? Are you eating clean food? Are you eating dirty food? Are you eating high vibe food? Are you eating low vibe food? Everything, to the colors in your house, to the fabrics that you touch. Even are you drinking out of plastic? Or are you drinking out of glass? Everything radiates an energy. So try to have everything around you that's touching you or entering you high vibe. It all makes a difference, not just your thoughts.
Yeah, because I mean, all the separation is illusion anyway, so it's all really
Right.
part of the universe. A question's coming from the chat room. Is there a way to check your frequency?
Yes, that's a good question. Thank you. Take a look at your life. So, your life is a manifestation of your frequency. So, is your life to your standards? Do you like your life? Do you like where you are? Do you like who you're with? Do you like what you're doing? Do you like what you think about? That's how you tell where you are. And if there's something you don't like, that's when you start to tweak your personal vibratory field so that you can align with what you do want.
Live, live TV, y'all. Live TV
Yeah, he's like
for
all riled up. He
the.
was 3, by the way. He was a wild cat. He lived outside in the wild, and he decided to retire and come to my house because I think I have the black cat retirement home. Because my other cat is black, and I had a third cat that was black, and his dog is also black.
Amazing. That's funny. Yeah, I love animals. We got horses here. It's part of our retreat center is equine
Oh,
therapy, and
how nice.
uh, couple not couple with the ceremonies, but we have the horses here for in between ceremony days where people can go interact with the horses while they're still vibing really high from the ceremony, and
Wow.
and have magical connections. It's
Wow.
so that's part of our process here, and yeah, that's another reason we want to get out of the desert so I can stop buying so much hay and have some a big grass pasture to put them out in, and try to save a little bit of money.
You're going to take the horses with you?
At least one of them, yeah. At least one of them has to go because I've had a personal experience with one of them that he's just he's part of my family and he's not going to go anywhere no matter what. So yeah,
Right.
unless I go to Hawaii, unless we go to the Big Island, which we ain't gonna be able to afford anything there. But who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe something magical will happen. But
That's
uh,
another byproduct of raising your frequency or even making contact with ETs to raise your frequency. Your ability to communicate with animals increases, or you can hear better what animals are saying and thinking. The communication is better.
and what so this brings us into like what nature like what is walking out in nature healing yourself with large bodies of water and stuff like that. That's
Yes.
something that we work with outside of plant medicine, just using the earth's energy itself to help us.
Yes, very much so. And especially in certain areas of the country that are high vibe, vortexes, ley lines. You can Google ley lines and you can see where you are. Uh, a gentleman named Peter Champeau, I don't know if you've heard of him, but he has investigated this. If you just Google him, Peter Champeau, you can see the grid lines and the energy vortexes that he's discovered and that he teaches us about.
Yeah, that's what's his name again?
Peter Champeau, Champeau. It's French, so it kind of ends like AUX, kind of like thing. Do you know what I
I got
mean? I think that's his name, Peter Champeau.
I gotcha. Yeah, it's yeah, I talk about that a lot because I live close to the New Mexico Colorado border, which is a 32nd um latitude line or whatever it is, but it's one of the meridian lines of the earth, so they you know it's it supports travel from craft. The energy. But yeah, so you've heard about the San Luis Valley and Great Sand Dunes and all that stuff? Like, have you heard about this area?
Is that the same thing as White Sands?
No. So
Okay.
we're about an hour and a half above Taos
Mm-hmm.
and an hour below Crestone, Colorado. Crestone is where Greer used to have a center there, and the Great Sand Dunes is one of our attractions here in this valley, the San Luis
Oh,
Valley in Colorado. It's the UFO Watchtower. So the beginning credits of the show, when they have a picture of the alien and they have like a little watchtower in the back, that's a UFO Watchtower, like about half hour from us. It's
oh, I was wondering what that was. Yeah.
yeah, this the UFOs is a big tourist attraction around here, but because it's a dark sky area, so there's a lot of the towns around here are part of the dark sky initiative for the planet. So they have like different street lights and stuff like that, so they don't pollute the sky, the
Oh.
the light pollution.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So have you? Is there going to be a C5 for the MUFON Symposium? Is
No.
that no? Is there meditation? So what other events is there going to be there? Is there going to be special events at night or?
Well, there is going to be the screening of Ron James' movie Accidental Truth, and also Phoenix Lights. Dr. Lynn, and I really don't know how to say her last name, Kitai, I think, who's in the movie, who directed it. She's going to be there and she's going to be talking. And there's also a tour to the Air Force Academy. And there's two experiencer breakout groups. If you're an experiencer, you can go to that will be hosted by Earl Grey from MUFON from California. And think I think that's about it as far as the special things go.
Wow,
Other
it's
than just
well, I mean the people alone, some of the names I know Paul. I know Paul pretty good. He's anytime he speaks, it's going to be amazing. Paul Hynek, that'd be amazing
yeah,
time right there.
yeah.
Yeah, what man, to go from experiencer to be heading a whole conference. What do you ever step back and just wonder how the hell did this happen?
Yes, it happened pretty quickly.
Yeah,
Yeah, I haven't come out that long ago. It's just 3 or 4 years. And so that to me just shows me that I'm aligned with what I'm supposed to be doing at this point in time. And who knows what I'm doing in the future, but right now it feels really, really good and I want to continue it.
yeah, just live in the moment. There's no reason to plan a bunch of stuff. Uh, Trevor, it's in Denver, Colorado. So right there. So you can look it
Yes,
up. It's the MUFON Symposium starting July 8th, 9th, and 10th.
yes,
And if you're up in the Colorado area, you can go see me on the 10th at the Stardust Festival in Golden, Colorado, which is right around the corner.
that's
So
pretty cool.
I'll be speaking at 11 a.m. at that event for those listening. And so we're closing up here. So what is your final message for the people? Like what do you have to say?
Well, my most important message is to honor your heart and to do whatever it is that you need to do to self-study and self-investigate, and not to be afraid to touch those parts of you that you've been hiding and that you're afraid of. And if you are an experiencer, to come out to yourself. Living authentically is the key for fulfillment and success. And so it's very important that you face what you're afraid of, face what might be holding you back. And there's so much help that you can get. You don't have to do this alone. And the path of spirituality is not really easy and it doesn't happen quickly. And just to be patient and to be brave, because the results are very, very well worth it.
I love it. That's a great way to close it out. There's just gotta trust in yourself. And what my teacher Renato, my medicine teacher, he told me one time. I call him freaking out all the time. I'm like, Renato, I'm getting these messages, this, that, and the other. He's like, you wanted this, man. Just breathe. This is the most beautiful point in your existence. So just
Yes.
breathe. And
Yes.
I really believe for that's true for each and every one of us. I think this is the most beautiful point in our existence. And I think the best advice in this time is just to breathe.
Hmm.
So, yeah. I appreciate you coming on, Sev, and
I
giving your
love
time.
you. Thank you.
Blessings on your journey for everything. I hope the symposium it's just goes above and beyond any expectations that anybody that has. And your future. You're just such a bright soul. We got to have you back on,
Yeah, I would love
and
to.
yeah, and get an update in a month or so. So see
Hmm.
see how it's
Thank
going.
you, Drew. Thank you, everyone who's watched and listened and asked questions. I'm very grateful.
Awesome. Can you stick around just a few moments? I'll talk to you right after I close the show out. All right. Appreciate you, Sev. Blessings. Oh, hell, man, what an amazing conversation. What an amazing person. Uh, I'm just so I'm just so honored and grateful that the UFO message is transforming into this consciousness message. And when I first started talking about this, back a couple years ago with Grant, the consciousness thing was a small part of it, and now it's such a big part of it. I'm just so glad, just for the movement and the message itself, that where it's headed. So, uh, yeah, I was not expecting that. I was expecting a little bit more of a nuts and bolts conversation, and yeah, I'm so glad that consciousness was such a huge part of it. So, yeah, trust in yourself, guys, and talk about it. And like she said, like Sev said, just come out to yourself first about it, and then see where it goes from there. And just know that you're not alone, and the community's growing. So, with that, thanks, Christy, good friend from El Paso, right there. Yeah, thanks everyone for joining the chat room. Thanks everybody. If you're over on Facebook, if you're watching on Facebook live events, go over and like us on our YouTube channel at Eagles Nest Podcast. It's a small little homegrown show, so any support helps. And yeah, appreciate it. Let me let's see our website. You can go check out our past shows and past interviews I've done on Coast to Coast, Jimmy Church, Grant Cameron, Dave Scott, all those, and tons more content in there. Shows that I've been on, and people that's been on my shows, and links to what we do, and ceremonies that we do and stuff like that. Reviews on ceremonies, links to the books, and links to merchandise. But yeah, coming up, let's see who next we got coming up. Tomorrow, I got a RB late night with Jess Rogie, starting at midnight on the Jess Rogie show. Very honored to be on her show again. And then the following day, we have John Yoist, director producer of Alien Abduction Answers, which is streaming right now on Amazon Prime. Looking forward to that conversation. And then July 3rd, we got Dr. Christopher Macklin. We're going to be talking about Grays again. We're going to be talking about ET agreements, presidential agreements, and yeah, I'm sure we're going to get into consciousness. So, July 3rd, Dr. Christopher Macklin. So make sure you tune in for that one. Looking forward to that conversation. Yeah, and then July 10th, I'll be up in Golden, Colorado, speaking at the one-day event, the Stardust Festival. I'll be the first speaker at 11 a.m. and those tickets will be sold at the door. So you can go to Stardust Festival. I have links on my Facebook page where you can go check those out. But yeah, thanks everyone for joining us again for another night of the Eagles Nest podcast. And see you all tomorrow night on the Just Broker Show. And if not, see you back here on Tuesday night with John Yoist. Blessings.